Have you ever opened your lab results, stared at that creatinine number, and quietly wondered if your kidneys are slipping away from you, even though you've been doing everything your doctor told you to do? If that number has been climbing month after month, I need you to listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could change the direction of your kidney health sooner than you think. I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and here's a truth most people never hear. Kidney damage rarely announces itself with pain. It happens silently, steadily, and by the time symptoms appear, many people are already being told to prepare for the next stage. Dialysis doesn't arrive suddenly, it creeps closer, one blood test at a time. And if your creatinine is rising, that clock may already be ticking, whether you feel sick or not. In my clinical experience, I've seen patients who followed every medication plan perfectly, yet their kidneys continued to decline. Not because they didn't care, but because one critical piece was missing. And no, it wasn't another pill, another supplement, or another expensive treatment. It was something far simpler and far more powerful hiding in plain sight. Because your kidneys don't just respond to drugs. They respond to what flows through your blood every single day. Certain foods, when chosen precisely, can reduce toxic load calm, inflammation, and give damaged filtering units a real chance to recover. The problem is, most people eat the wrong healthy foods for kidney disease and unknowingly make things worse. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 7 specific vegetables that research and real-world patient outcomes have linked to lower creatinine levels and improved kidney filtration when used correctly. One of them in particular has shocked specialists because eaten the wrong way, it can harm your kidneys. But prepared properly, it can become a powerful ally. Stay with me, because missing this could mean continuing down a path you never chose, while understanding it could give your kidneys the breathing room they desperately need. Let's start with a vegetable so ordinary that most people dismiss it without a second thought. It sits quietly in grocery stores, shows up in coleslaw, and rarely gets credit for anything meaningful. But for struggling kidneys, this humble food can become a powerful first line of defense. I'm talking about cabbage. I once spoke with a patient in his early 60s who told me, "Doctor, I've cut salt, I take my meds, I even stopped eating red meat. So why is my creatinine still going up?" When we look closer, the issue wasn't what he was taking away. It was what he was missing. His diet had almost no foods that actively helped remove toxins before they reached the kidneys. That's where cabbage quietly stepped in. Cabbage contains sulfur-based compounds called glucosinolates. Think of them like microscopic cleanup crews moving through your bloodstream. When your kidneys are weakened, they struggle to filter waste efficiently. These compounds help break down toxins, early reducing the load your kidneys have to deal with later. In simple terms, cabbage helps take pressure off organs that are already overwhelmed. Researchers at Baylor Scott & White Health observed this effect in people with early kidney decline. In a group of over 140 participants, those who regularly consumed low potassium, high-fiber vegetables like cabbage showed measurable improvements in filtration markers over several months. Creatinine levels moved down not overnight, but steadily as oxidative stress and toxin burden decreased. There's another layer most people overlook. The fiber in cabbage doesn't just help digestion. It binds waste products in the gut before they ever enter the bloodstream. That means fewer toxins reaching the kidneys in the first place. Raw cabbage preserves enzymes, while lightly steamed cabbage is gentler for sensitive stomachs. Both work when consumed consistently. But here's the key mistake people make: they drown cabbage in heavy sauces or cook it until its benefits disappear. Prepared simply, cabbage becomes one of the safest kidney-friendly vegetables available, low in potassium, low in phosphorus, and high in protective compounds. And yet detoxifying the blood is only one piece of the puzzle, because even after toxins are reduced, your kidneys still need help repairing damaged filtering units. And that brings us to a second vegetable that works through an entirely different pathway, one that supports cellular repair at a much deeper level. If cabbage helps reduce the toxic burden before waste overwhelms your kidneys, the next vegetable works at a deeper level. It supports the tiny filtering units themselves as they struggle to repair and survive. This is where many people unknowingly miss a crucial step. Because lowering toxins is important, yes, but damaged kidneys also need the right nutrients to rebuild. And that's where cauliflower quietly changes the story. I remember a woman in her late 50s who told me something striking. She said, "I eat vegetables every day, but my labs haven't moved in years." When we looked closer, her plate was full, but it lacked nutrients that actually support cellular repair. Her kidneys were exhausted filtering day after day without the raw materials they needed to heal. Introducing cauliflower was one of the first changes that finally made sense for her body. Cauliflower is often underestimated because it's mild, bland, and unassuming. But nutritionally, it's strategic. It delivers fiber like cabbage, helping reduce toxin absorption in the gut, and it adds vitamin C and folate, two nutrients directly involved in repairing damaged tissue. Vitamin C supports the integrity of nephrons, the microscopic filters inside your kidneys, while folate helps the body produce healthy new cells to replace the ones damaged by chronic inflammation. Researchers at the University of Wollongong followed people with chronic kidney stress who adopted plant-forward diets, including vegetables like cauliflower. Over several months, blood and urine markers showed improved filtration efficiency and reduced waste accumulation. These weren't dramatic overnight changes. They were slow, meaningful shifts that signaled the kidneys were no longer just surviving, but stabilizing. Another reason cauliflower works so well is tolerance. Many people with kidney issues struggle with bloating or discomfort from certain vegetables. Cauliflower, when lightly steamed, is gentle on digestion while still delivering protective compounds. Half a cup a day is often enough to support the process without overloading potassium-sensitive kidneys. But here's the important transition. Repairing kidney filters is essential, yet even healthy filters struggle if waste isn't flushed efficiently from the bloodstream. And that leads us to the next vegetable one that doesn't just support repair, but actively helps your body push creatinine out through a completely different mechanism. Up to this point, we've talked about reducing toxic load and repairing damaged filters. But even a repaired filter struggles if waste keeps circulating in the blood. This is where many kidney plans quietly fall apart, because detox and repair mean little if creatinine isn't actually moved out of the body. And that's exactly where the next vegetable steps in, not as a repair tool, but as a natural exit strategy. I'm talking about carrots. A man in his early 60s once told me something revealing. "My numbers barely change," he said, "even when I eat clean." When we traced his daily habits, his kidneys were working hard, but his body wasn't helping them finish the job. Waste was being filtered, then recycled back into circulation. What he needed wasn't another restriction, he needed flow. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A nutrient essential for maintaining healthy kidney tissue and calming inflammation in the filtering system. But the real advantage comes from something far less talked about: pectin fiber. This type of soluble fiber has a mild diuretic effect, encouraging the body to increase urine output without stressing weakened kidneys. In simple terms, carrots help your system move waste along instead of letting it linger. Clinical nutrition studies have shown that pectin fibers can bind waste compounds, including creatinine, and escort them out of the body through increased elimination. When patients consistently consume modest portions of cooked carrots, urine output improved, and blood waste markers began to shift, not dramatically, but measurably. For kidneys under constant pressure, even small improvements in clearance matter. Cooking carrots actually enhances this effect. Light steaming or boiling makes beta-carotene more bioavailable while preserving the pectin fibers that support elimination. Half a cup a day is often enough to support this process without adding excessive oxalates, especially when paired with adequate hydration. Here's the quiet power of carrots: they don't force your kidneys to work harder. They help your body finish what your kidneys start. And once waste begins moving out more efficiently, another layer of protection becomes possible, one that shields kidney cells from ongoing oxidative damage. But waste removal alone isn't the end of the story, because even as creatinine leaves the bloodstream, kidney tissue still needs protection from constant internal attack. And that's where the next vegetable, rich in powerful red pigments, begins to change the equation entirely. Once waste begins to move out of the bloodstream, a new threat quietly takes center stage: ongoing cellular damage. Because even when creatinine is being cleared, kidney tissue can continue to break down under constant oxidative stress. High blood pressure, unstable blood sugar, chronic inflammation. These forces keep attacking the filtering units day after day. This is where many people unknowingly stall their progress. And this is where red bell peppers step in with a very different kind of protection. I remember a patient who did almost everything right. He stayed hydrated, watched his protein, and added more vegetables, yet his labs barely improved. When we looked closer, his kidneys were still under oxidative assault. They weren't just overloaded, they were unprotected. That's when we focused on one overlooked detail: antioxidant defense. Red bell peppers are rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant, best known for protecting the heart, but equally critical for the kidneys. Lycopene acts like a cellular shield, neutralizing free radicals before they can damage the delicate structures inside the nephrons. Unlike some antioxidants that work broadly, lycopene specifically targets the type of oxidative stress linked to kidney tissue breakdown. What makes red bell peppers especially valuable for kidney health is what they don't contain. They're naturally low in potassium, which makes them far safer than many colorful vegetables that people are often warned to limit. According to guidance supported by kidney nutrition research, this low potassium profile allows people with compromised kidney function to benefit from antioxidant protection without increasing electrolyte risk. Each half cup also delivers vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin B6, and folate nutrients that support tissue repair and immune balance. Light cooking actually increases lycopene absorption, while raw peppers provide maximum vitamin content. Either way, consistency matters more than perfection. Here's the key shift: when oxidative damage is reduced, kidneys stop losing ground. They can stabilize, and stabilization is often the first step toward improvement. But antioxidant protection alone doesn't solve everything, because even protected kidneys struggle if circulation and fluid balance aren't optimized. And that brings us to the next vegetable one that doesn't protect with pigments or vitamins, but with water itself. Because sometimes the most powerful detox tool isn't what's added, it's what helps your kidneys rinse clean. After antioxidant protection is in place, there's one more problem that quietly sabotages kidney recovery if it's ignored: poor flushing. Even protected, even repaired kidneys struggle when fluid balance is off and waste lingers too long in circulation. This is where many people think they're helping themselves by drinking more water, yet still see no improvement. Because hydration alone isn't always enough. The body also needs a gentle, natural way to move that fluid through the system, and that's where cucumbers come in. I once worked with a patient who carried a water bottle everywhere. He drank all day, yet his urine remained dark and his creatinine barely budged. When we adjusted his hydration strategy, something unexpected helped unlock progress. Not another glass of water, but how that water interacted with food. Adding cucumber changed the dynamic. Cucumbers are nearly 96% water, but their power goes far beyond hydration. They act as a mild, natural diuretic, encouraging steady urine production without forcing the kidneys into stress mode. Unlike pharmaceutical diuretics, this effect is gentle and sustained. Think of cucumbers as helping your kidneys rinse themselves rather than pushing them to work harder. That steady flushing matters. When waste products like creatinine spend less time circulating in the bloodstream, kidneys face less toxic exposure. Cucumbers also provide vitamin C and antioxidant compounds that protect kidney cells during this process, while the silica found in the skin supports connective tissue, including the fragile structures inside the filtering units. Clinical nutrition research consistently shows that foods with high water content and low electrolyte load can improve hydration status and waste clearance in people with compromised kidney function. That's why cucumbers are often recommended in kidney-friendly diets when sodium and potassium need tight control. Keeping the skin on maximizes benefits since many protective compounds are concentrated there. Half a cucumber a day is enough for most people. Some patients find that cucumber-infused water sipped throughout the day maintains more consistent urine output than plain water alone. Here's the key insight: cucumbers don't force detox, they support flow. And once flow improves, another hidden driver of kidney damage becomes easier to address. Because even with good flushing, kidneys can continue to decline if chronic inflammation and blood sugar instability remain unchecked. And that brings us to a vegetable many people avoid because of its taste, yet it may be one of the most powerful metabolic allies your kidneys have. By this point, many people finally feel momentum. Toxins are reduced, waste is moving out, and the kidneys are better protected. But there's a hidden force that can quietly undo all of that progress if it isn't addressed: chronic inflammation driven by unstable blood sugar. This is the factor that keeps damaging kidney tissue even when everything else looks right. And this is where one unusual vegetable makes a dramatic difference. I'm talking about bitter gourd. Most people avoid bitter gourd because of its sharp taste. But that bitterness is exactly where its power comes from. I once spoke with a patient who had early kidney decline and borderline diabetes. He told me, "My creatinine goes up every time my sugar's out of control." And he was right. Repeated glucose spikes inflame the tiny blood vessels inside the kidneys, slowly scarring the very filters meant to protect you. Bitter gourd contains bioactive compounds that help regulate blood sugar and reduce inflammatory signaling. In simple terms, it calms the internal environment your kidneys are forced to operate in. Researchers at the University of Wollongong identified specific compounds in bitter gourd that improve metabolic function and reduce cytokines, the inflammatory messengers that drive tissue damage and fibrosis in chronic kidney disease. When inflammation is lowered, kidneys don't have to constantly fight injury. They finally get space to recover. That's why patients who incorporate bitter gourd consistently often notice not just better glucose stability, but slower progression of kidney markers over time. It's not a quick fix, it's a stabilizer. Preparation matters. Salting and rinsing slices reduces excess bitterness while preserving anti-inflammatory benefits. Light stir-frying or gentle cooking keeps the compounds active. Even small amounts around 50 to 100 grams a day can make a difference when used regularly. Here's the turning point. Once blood sugar and inflammation are under control, kidneys respond differently to every other supportive change. They stop losing ground. But there's one final vegetable that brings everything together, one that can either help or harm, depending entirely on how you use it. And that's why what comes next is so important, because this last choice may determine whether all the progress you've built is protected or quietly reversed. By now, you may be thinking you've found the rhythm toxins, reduced waste, flushed inflammation, calmed. But there's one vegetable that sits right on the edge between healing and harm, and this is where many well-intentioned people accidentally undo their progress. It's dark, leafy, nutrient-dense, and often avoided out of fear. I'm talking about spinach, the vegetable that demands precision. I once spoke with a patient who proudly told me he ate spinach smoothies every morning because he'd heard it was super healthy. Yet his potassium kept climbing, his labs worsened, and no one could understand why. The problem wasn't spinach itself, it was how he used it. Spinach is powerful, but it doesn't forgive mistakes. Spinach delivers vitamins A, C, E, and K, exactly what damaged kidney cells need to repair and protect themselves. Vitamin A supports rebuilding filtration structures. Vitamin C strengthens connective tissue. Vitamin E shields cells from oxidative damage. Vitamin K helps regulate calcium, reducing the risk of harmful deposits in kidney tissue. On paper, it looks like the perfect kidney food. The danger lies in potassium. Raw spinach is loaded with it, and compromised kidneys struggle to clear excess potassium from the blood. When levels rise too high, the heart, not just the kidneys, can be put at risk. This is why spinach gets a bad reputation. But here's what most people aren't told. Cooking changes everything. Steaming or boiling spinach for just a few minutes allows a large portion of potassium to leach into the water, which you discard. What remains is a concentrated package of protective nutrients, now far safer for controlled consumption. Research in renal nutrition consistently shows that properly cooked spinach eaten in small portions can fit into a kidney-friendly plan. Portion control is non-negotiable. Half a cup 2 to 3 times per week is enough. Not daily, not in smoothies. Used correctly, spinach becomes an ally instead of a threat. This is the final lesson of the vegetables themselves. It's not just what you eat, it's how you use it. And knowing that changes everything. But understanding individual foods is only half the solution. Because what truly determines results is how these vegetables fit into a real day morning tonight. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. Knowing which vegetables protect your kidneys is powerful, but knowing how to use them in real life is what actually changes your lab results. This is where many people lose momentum. They understand the science, they feel motivated, and then daily life takes over. So let's slow this down and make it practical, realistic, and doable from morning to night. Think of kidney support like guiding traffic, not forcing change. In the morning, your kidneys are waking up after hours of reduced filtration. This is the perfect time for gentle support. A small serving of steamed cauliflower mixed into eggs or a breakfast bowl gives your kidneys repair nutrients without stress. Mid-morning is where flushing begins. Cucumber-infused water sipped slowly doesn't shock your system, it keeps waste moving steadily. Lunch is where synergy happens. This is where cabbage, carrots, and red bell peppers work together. Fiber binds toxins, antioxidants protect cells, and elimination stays active. I've seen patients who made this single shift, one structured lunch, finally see their creatinine stop creeping upward. Not because they ate more food, but because they ate with intention. Afternoon preparation matters more than people think. This is when bitter gourd fits best, prepared ahead of time, used in small amounts helping stabilize blood sugar before it causes damage later in the day. And in the evening, when kidneys naturally slow down, this is where restraint becomes protection. Properly cooked spinach, carefully portioned, provides nutrients without overwhelming potassium load. Renal nutrition studies consistently show that consistency beats intensity. People who follow simple, repeatable patterns see better trends in creatinine, eGFR, and overall energy than those who chase extreme plans. You don't need perfection, you need rhythm. Batch cooking twice a week makes this sustainable. Half-cup portions prevent overload. And tracking simple signs, urine color, swelling, energy, often reveals improvement before labs do. This daily structure turns knowledge into results. But there's one final piece that determines whether progress lasts or quietly fades. Because understanding food is powerful, but understanding what to do next is what turns hope into long-term kidney stability. If you've stayed with me until now, I want you to hear this clearly. The fact that you're watching this already means you care about your kidneys, and that matters more than you may realize. Kidney decline doesn't reverse overnight, and it doesn't respond to fear or pressure. It responds to consistency, patience, and small choices repeated day after day. And you've just learned some of the most practical tools to start doing that. My advice is simple but powerful. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose one meal, one habit, one adjustment you can realistically maintain. Support your kidneys instead of punishing them. Avoid extremes. Your kidneys heal best when they're not constantly under stress nutritionally, emotionally, or mentally. If something feels overwhelming, slow down. Healing is not a race. I also want you to know this: you are not alone in this journey. Many people watching right now are facing the same lab numbers, the same quiet worries, the same fear of what the next appointment might bring. If that's you, take a moment to save this video so you can come back to it when you need guidance or reassurance. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. I share evidence-based practical kidney health information here regularly, not trends, not hype, just what actually helps people protect their kidneys in real life. Here's the hopeful truth I want you to carry forward. Kidneys are resilient organs. Even when damaged, they can stabilize. They can improve. They can respond when the environment around them changes. Every supportive meal, every balanced choice, every informed decision gives them more breathing room. So start where you are. Use what you've learned today, and trust that progress doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the quiet changes are the ones that matter most. Take care of yourself, take care of your kidneys, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue building the knowledge you need to protect your health with confidence and clarity.